Hello, I'm Daisha and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to talk about my year on Etsy in 2025, share some stats, some updates, and do I think Etsy is worth it? So you might be wondering why I want to share my stats. And personally, I just don't mind. I think I really enjoyed watching these videos as I started out. I think it can be helpful, and it's also a way for me to look back on this in years to come to see how much I've grown. And I think anybody that's curious about selling on a platform, you want some transparency of what's going on behind the scenes. So if that interests you, then stick around. Or if you're like me and you're just nosy, stick around too. I do not mind. So with that being said, this is from an educational frame. This is not me trying to flex, even though I don't feel like I made enough money for it to be a flex. But I know there are people that are, new to the app and it might seem like that. So that's not the intention at all. So if you're new here, the main thing that I sell in my shop are annotated kits. I'll hopefully editing Dash is putting this on the screen. Annotation kits, that's like my biggest seller. Annotated books, stickers, bookmarks, blind date with a book. That's the bulk of it. So like I said, annotation kits are my biggest seller. And this is a whole nother video. I've talked about it before. I could talk about it again. But it took me a while to figure out what my best things were because I was so focused on stickers in the beginning when annotated kits were the thing. So if you're just starting out, do not put all your eggs in one basket because what you think is going to be your biggest seller might not actually be. So a little bit more about me and my shop. I opened my shop in April of 2025. Anyway, it was I opened my shop around mid-April of 2025. So that gives me about 8 months selling on the platform. I have overall had a good experience with Etsy. Sometimes the fees can feel like a lot, but looking at even when I compared it to Shopify, I realized I was going to be paying fees no matter what. And at the point that I'm at right now, I don't mind paying that for someone to drive the traffic to me without me having to do it all by myself. So for me, it is worth it. And then also, this is a side hustle for me. I do have a full-time job, 9 to 5. So this is not my sole income. So I am able to be a little bit more flexible with the things I do and the decisions I make in my business. So at the time of this recording, I currently have 61 active listings on Etsy. Some of those are duplicates of listings I already have. So I had one that I wanted to do an A/B testing kind of thing to see which one would perform better. So some of them are that kind of thing, and then some of them I might, which is also A/B. I made the annotation kit the main focus in my Valentine's Day listing on one of them, even though you can buy all the things. And then on the separate listing, I made the whole thing the main, the whole kit, the main image, just to see if one of them had more traction. So not all of these are unique listings. However, they are their own listing, if that makes sense. And then I forgot to mention, I do have some digital items, even though that's not a big seller for me, but they are there. So I am going to talk about the whole year, but I will also talk about some different months because there are some interesting things that happen each month that I do want to cover. So let's start with the part that I'm sure you're the most excited about, which is how much money did I make from Etsy last year. So I had 27,000 visits, 315 orders. So orders and sales are different things. So I've sold multiple products, but these are actual orders. So I've had 315 orders. My conversion rate is 1.2. I wish it was higher, but I can't make people buy things. I can do the best I can, and then revenue is sitting at $8,530.74. So overall, I think this is really good for a first year. Etsy can be difficult to drive traffic because basically think of Etsy as a mall, and your shop in Etsy is a store in the mall. So Etsy has people already shopping on the platform, right? They're the mall. They've brought people into the mall, and now it's up to you to get them to come into your store. But Etsy also wants to make money, so they're going to make sure they're prioritizing the listings that are already selling. So my annotation kits keep selling because they've sold before, whereas some of the other things don't sell as much, and I think it's because they haven't sold before. So basically, keeping that in mind as you're thinking about the platform, because some people are like, why would I pay Etsy to do this when I can do it? I feel like I honestly haven't had to put that much work into I have. I would have had to put a lot more work into the sales portion had I not been on Etsy. Not upset with this revenue. Is it enough to live off of? Absolutely not. But is it a lead in the right direction? I think so, because this shows me that what I have, there is a interest in it. I'm not just taking a shot in the dark and opening my own business for it to flop. I've been able to have this like platform to try something out and see how it does. So I'm very thankful for that. I'm going to go through just a couple of things. Actually, let me start with this. With all that being said, I have been running ads. So you can run Etsy ads, which means that they will like bump your listings to the top. You only pay when someone actually clicks on the listing. So last year, 2025, I spent $3,000, well, $3,100 on Etsy ads, and from those ads, the revenue came out to be $4,900. So that's including the 8 that you saw previously. And it might seem like a lot of money to spend on ads. It is a lot of money to spend on ads. However, if I hadn't spent that money on ads, would I have gotten almost that $5,000 in revenue that came from those ads? And another thing that I've noticed is a lot of my sales have been returning customers. So if they hadn't bought that initial thing, they wouldn't have been able to come back to buy something else. So I do think ad spend is an investment. And like I said, I work a full-time job and so does my husband. So I have that money to be able to put into that and not have to worry as much. Basically, a lot of the money that I was making went right back into the business, but I'm okay with that. Unfortunately, you have to spend money to make money. So I am going to update you also on how this month is going, because this month has actually surprised me so far, and it's only January 3rd. And it's actually kind of wild. So I will get to that. However, I do have like where I wrote down and broke apart each month. So I was going to tell you about some of my best months and my worst month. And the worst month is not the month you probably think it is. Comment below what month do you think I did the worst in, because it surprised me. I figured this would have been a good month. So April was my first month selling, and I made $648. A little bit of background if you don't know, I do have a Bookstagram account because my whole niche is books. So the first day that I had my shop open, I made a big post about like, hey, my shop is live, come check it out. And I made like $300 my first day. And it came from being able to have that support online. So I will say at the beginning, so this probably didn't run any ads in April, honestly. These were all sales that I drove to the platform. So they're not organic sales really. Some of them might have been, but mostly me doing the work. May and June both brought in around $550, give or take. July was a really good month. I made $1,200. August, $1,200. September, I made $938. October was my worst month, which I thought it would be a great month. I was thinking like fall stuff, Halloween stuff. I had like a fall collection. People might be buying things, anyways, I just thought it would be a great month. Apparently, overall on the site, though, a lot of people had a bad month in October. $357. Literally the worst month to date. But then we bounced back in November, and I had my best month, which was literally $1,699. So almost $1,700. And then December, I made $1,200. Yeah, it's just interesting to see what months did the best. I've heard that the summer could be slow, but July and August were, really good months. And then October was a terrible month. So I don't know necessarily what I learned from that information, because it was very up and down. But what I do know for sure, Black Friday, yes, absolutely. Next year, I'm going to run another Black Friday sale. If you saw my last video, I made a calendar blocking out dates. Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday are already on the calendar. Because that did do very well. So all this to say, I just think Etsy is a great place for people starting out, especially if you're not making too much money. I did do some research, and it said basically after you start making like $20,000, it's probably better to have a Shopify or something else. But from where I am right now, I'm perfectly content. I'll talk a little bit about this month. So like I said, today's January 3rd. My site already has had 355 visits, 7 orders, conversion rates at 2%, and revenue is at $310. And I cannot complain. So remember, 7 orders, that doesn't mean one item. It just means like 7 different people bought from my shop. And one person bought 35 annotation kits. So therefore, that's the bulk of that revenue. So far, the month is going great. If you were here for my goals video, you can check that out too. I don't actually know how to do this, so I'm going to say that I'm going to link it up here like all the other YouTubers say, but I don't actually know how to do that, so we'll see if I can figure it out. But anyway, my goal for the first 3 months, because I'm doing the 12-week year, is to make $6,000 in revenue by March 31st. And I think this is a great start. So I'm excited. So, some next steps, in case you're curious, I just launched a Valentine's Day collection, which is actually why I'm wearing this. I'm about to actually go take pictures for, I have like a freebie for people to sign up for my email list. And I did one for Christmas and it went really well. I probably got 50 people to sign up for my email list from the Christmas freebie. So I'm going to do the same thing for Valentine's Day. And for the Christmas freebie, I took pictures like of me in my Christmas pajamas, with the coloring bookmarks, and I just feel like the whole aesthetic of it, people like really vibed with it. So same thing for Valentine's Day, and I did make like a cowboy Valentine's Day collection. So I'll show you. So these are just the coloring bookmarks, but I've been coloring on these today to be able to take pictures of them. So I'm just gonna do some pictures of me like coloring them. So I'm like me smiling with them, you get the vibe. And I'm gonna be in my cozy reading nook. And I think that would do well. So that is the plan. This month is really buckle down, promote that new collection, keep working on annotated like bookmarks, and that's going to be keep being my main focus of like promotion too, because they do really well. And I was thinking about it. I really want to do a push with the annotation kits for book clubs, because I feel like it's just a really cool experience. Why not? Um, but yeah, that's about it. So I am, like I said, going to go take these pictures, but I just wanted to check in with you, give you that wrap up before we get too far into the year, because I did want to close that out. But I'm excited for the year to come. I'm excited for you to come along with me. I appreciate you being here, sticking around, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.